Before you listen to this audiobook, you didn't get cheated on because you weren't enough. You got cheated on because loyalty without boundaries is a setup. The Good Man Paradox is the book every loyal man wishes he had before he gave his heart to the wrong person. It breaks down the real reasons infidelity happens, why good men are often the easiest to disrespect, and how modern dating has turned commitment into a game. This isn't a pity book. This is a rebuild book. Inside, you'll learn why some people cheat even when they love you, how being too forgiving destroys respect, the psychology of attention, addiction, and emotional affairs, how to spot red flags early and stop ignoring them, how to recover without becoming bitter, how to build standards so strong betrayal becomes unlikely. If you're tired of being told to just move on, this book gives you something better. Clarity, strength, standards. Because a good man isn't weak. He's just been too loyal to the wrong person. Forward. To the man who stayed loyal in a world that rewards options, there's a quiet kind of pain that doesn't get spoken about. It's the pain of the man who did things the right way. The man who stayed consistent. The man who showed up. The man who built instead of played games and still got betrayed. Society talks a lot about cheating, usually from the perspective of drama, gossip, or entertainment. But it rarely talks about the deeper truth. What cheating does to a man who loved sincerely, not just emotionally, not just romantically, but spiritually. Because betrayal doesn't only break your heart, it breaks your trust in yourself. It makes you question your judgment. It makes you question your worth. It makes you question whether being a good man even matters anymore. This book is not written to make you hate women. It's not written to make you bitter. It's not written to turn you cold. It's written to tell the truth. Cheating is not always about sex. It's not always about you not being enough. And it's not always about a lack of love. Sometimes cheating is about immaturity. Sometimes it's about attention, addiction. Sometimes it's about poor boundaries. Sometimes it's about character. And sometimes it's about the painful reality that some people do not have the discipline to protect what they claim to love. This book is for the good man who gave his best and got punished for it. It is for the man who is tired of being told, just move on. It's not that deep. You'll be fine, because it is that deep. And you deserve more than shallow advice. You deserve clarity. You deserve healing. You deserve growth. And most of all, you deserve to become the kind of man who never abandons himself again. Introduction. Why good men get cheated on, and why that truth can set you free. If you're holding this book, there's a good chance you've asked yourself a question that kept you up at night. How could she do that to me? Maybe you were loyal. Maybe you provided. Maybe you protected her. Maybe you loved her in ways she claimed she had never experienced. And still, you were betrayed. And the worst part isn't even the cheating. The worst part is the confusion. Because betrayal creates a kind of mental chaos that makes you question everything. You replay memories, you analyze conversations, you look for signs you missed. You blame yourself for being trusting. You blame yourself for being kind. You blame yourself for loving too much. And at some point, you may even begin to believe a lie. That being a good man is a weakness. That lie is dangerous. Because it doesn't just destroy relationships. It destroys men. This book is here to correct that lie. The real problem isn't that you were good. The real problem is that most good men were never taught the full blueprint. They were taught to be loving, patient, forgiving, loyal, understanding, consistent. But they were not taught to be boundaried, selective, emotionally disciplined, respected, willing to walk away. So what happens? A good man becomes a safe place. but not always a respected place. And respect is the foundation of loyalty. This book will tell the truth without destroying you. This book will explore why cheating happens psychologically, why good men are often vulnerable to it, how modern culture fuels temptation, what betrayal does to the male mind and heart, how to rebuild your confidence and identity, how to love again without becoming bitter, how to become the kind of man who is unchangeable in value, not because you control women, but because you finally control your standards. What you'll gain from this book, you will gain clarity about what happened, language for what you felt, wisdom to prevent it in the future, a new definition of strength, a blueprint for boundaries, a mindset that restores your self-respect, and you'll learn the final truth. Cheating is not proof you were weak. Sometimes it's proof you were loyal to someone who didn't deserve it. A note before you begin. Some chapters may trigger anger. Some may trigger grief. Some may feel like they're describing your life. That's not an accident. Healing begins when you stop minimizing your pain. So read slowly, reflect honestly, and remember, this book is not here to keep you in the past. It's here to help you rise beyond it. The Good Man Paradox. Chapter 1. The Good Man Paradox. There is a lie that good men grow up believing. It's not something anyone says out loud. It's not written in a book or preached directly. It's just absorbed, passed down through movies, family advice, and quiet assumptions. The lie is this: if you are a good man, you won't be betrayed. If you work hard, stay loyal, show up, protect her heart, and give her the kind of love most men don't even know how to offer, then your relationship will be safe. Your home will be safe. Your name will be safe. But thousands of good men have learned the truth the hard way. Goodness is not a shield. In fact, sometimes it's the very thing that makes you vulnerable, because a good man often leads with trust. He leads with patience. He leads with giving people the benefit of the doubt. He assumes love means teamwork, and in a world full of people who haven't healed, who don't have discipline, who chase validation like oxygen, those traits can become a target. This is the paradox. The very qualities that make you a good man can also make you easier to cheat on. Not because you deserve it, not because you're weak, not because you weren't enough, but because being good without boundaries becomes a kind of emotional generosity that dishonest people exploit. This book is not written to make you hate women. That's easy. Any wounded man can do that. This book is written to do something harder and more valuable, to help you understand the psychology behind betrayal, to recognize the patterns that lead good men into painful relationships, and to help you become the kind of man who is still good, but no longer easy to disrespect. Because a good man who grows wisdom becomes something dangerous in the best way. He becomes unplayable. The problem with good: most men use the word good like it's a single trait, but it's not. Good can mean loyal, honest, dependable, forgiving, patient, hardworking, emotionally safe, protective, generous. Those are powerful traits. But if those traits exist without balance, they create blind spots. A man can be loyal and still be naive. A man can be forgiving and still be a doormat. A man can be patient and still avoid the conversations that would protect his relationship. A man can be generous and still be taken for granted. And here's the brutal truth. Some women don't cheat because a man is bad. They cheat because they stop respecting him. That doesn't make cheating justified. It makes it explainable. And the moment you understand that, you stop asking the childish question, why would she do this to a good man? And you start asking the adult question, what kind of relationship dynamic allows betrayal to grow? That question is where your power returns. Cheating, isn't random cheating, is not lightning. It doesn't strike out of nowhere. It is a process. It begins with small boundary violations, a secret conversation, emotional intimacy with someone else, a coworker who gets her, a friend she doesn't mention anymore, private jokes, deleted messages. You're just insecure. It grows when accountability disappears. It becomes inevitable when a person's character is weak, and temptation becomes easy. And in modern relationships, temptation is everywhere. The phone in her hand is not just a phone. It's a portal to attention. A man can be sitting right next to her and still be competing with strangers online, ex's co-workers, men in her DMs, the fantasy of a better option. The good man thinks love should be enough, but love is not enough. Love is a foundation. Character is the structure. The good man's mistake. A good man's biggest mistake is not loving too much. It's assuming love is all that matters. Many good men don't set standards because they think standards are controlling. Many good men don't confront disrespect because they think confrontation is toxic. Many good men stay silent because they think peace is the goal. But peace without truth is just quiet dysfunction. A good man will say, "I don't want to argue," but the relationship hears, "You can do what you want. I won't stop you." And slowly the woman begins to test the limits of what she can get away with, not always consciously, but humans test what is allowed. Children do it, adults do it, partners do it, and the man who never enforces consequences becomes the man who gets taken for granted. This is why betrayal is so confusing for good men. They weren't cruel, they weren't neglectful, they weren't abusive, so they can't understand it. But they missed the deeper truth. Relationships don't survive on love. They survive on respect, boundaries, and shared values. What this book will teach you. This book will teach you the difference between a nice man and a good man, why emotional affairs often happen before physical ones, why some women crave validation more than stability, why some women interpret peace as boredom, how modern culture rewards disloyalty, how good men accidentally train women to disrespect them, how to spot early warning signs without becoming paranoid, how to heal without becoming bitter, how to become the man who can walk away, because the man who can walk away is the man who cannot be controlled, and the man who cannot be controlled is the man who cannot be played. The paradox solved. The goal is not to stop being good. The goal is to stop being good in a way that costs you your dignity. You don't need to become cold. You don't need to become cruel. You don't need to become the kind of man who cheats first so he doesn't get cheated on. That path doesn't protect you. It corrupts you. Instead, you become the rarest kind of man. A good man with boundaries. A loyal man with standards. A kind man who respects himself. And that is the man who changes everything. Because once you become that man, betrayal becomes less likely. Not because you control her, but because you stop choosing women who would ever risk you. Chapter close. You were never foolish for being loyal. You were just operating with an incomplete map. The world taught you that being good was the finish line, but it's not. It's the starting point. Chapter 2. The day you realize love isn't protection. For most good men, the moment they find out doesn't feel like pain at first. It feels like disbelief. It feels like your brain refusing to load the reality. You stare at the message, the screenshot, the confession, the evidence, and your mind does something strange. It tries to bargain with the truth. Maybe it's not what it looks like. Maybe there's an explanation. Maybe I misunderstood. Because the human brain would rather live in denial than accept humiliation, especially a man's brain. Not because men are emotionless, but because men often tie their identity to being respected. And betrayal doesn't just hurt. It humiliates. It tells your ego, your pride, and your self-image, you were not safe. You were not chosen. You were not enough. Even if that isn't objectively true, that's what it feels like. And feelings are powerful. The moment a good man changes before betrayal, a good man usually has a certain innocence. Not childish innocence, but moral innocence. He believes loyalty is normal. He believes if you love someone, you protect them. He believes if you're unhappy, you communicate. He believes cheating is something low-character people do. So when it happens to him, it doesn't just break his heart, it breaks his worldview. That's why men often say, "I don't even recognize myself anymore." Because betrayal forces you to confront something terrifying. The person you trusted most was capable of harming you. Once you learn that lesson, you start seeing the world differently. You become more guarded, more observant, more careful, sometimes more cold. And if you don't heal correctly, you become bitter. Not because you want to, but because bitterness feels like protection. Love doesn't protect you from character. A man can love a woman perfectly and still be cheated on, because love does not override character. Love does not override discipline. Love does not override values. Love does not override temptation. This is the part that destroys good men, because they grew up believing love is a kind of magic. Like if you love her hard enough, she will become loyal. But loyalty is not created by your love. It's created by her integrity. And integrity is revealed when no one is watching. Why it feels like your dying betrayal activates the same systems in the body as physical danger. Your appetite changes, your sleep disappears. Your chest feels tight, your mind races. Some men even feel physically sick, because your nervous system is treating this as a survival threat. And in a way, it is. A relationship is not just romance, it's a life structure. It's your home, your future, your identity, your sense of stability. When it collapses, your body reacts like you've been attacked, and you have, just not with fists. The mental movie after betrayal, the mind becomes cruel. It creates a movie. It replays where she was, what she said, what she wore, what he did, what she felt. Even if you don't know the details, your imagination fills them in, and the imagination is always worse than reality. This is why betrayal can feel like torture. Because the event doesn't just happen once, it happens again and again inside your head. The second injury. Most men think the cheating is the injury, but there's a second injury that hurts almost as much. The second injury is this: realizing you ignored your instincts. The signs were there. The distance, the attitude, the secrecy, the phone, the sudden new friend, the unexplained coldness, and you felt it. But you didn't want to be the insecure boyfriend. You didn't want to accuse her unfairly. You didn't want to seem controlling. So you swallowed your intuition, and now you pay for it. That regret is brutal, because it's not just she betrayed me. It becomes, I betrayed myself by staying silent. What a good man needs to hear, if you're in this moment right now, you need to hear this clearly. You are not stupid. You are not weak. You are not pathetic for trusting. Trust is not weakness. Trust is the foundation of love. The wrong person just turned it into a weapon, and that is not your shame. That is theirs. Chapter close. The day you realize love isn't protection is a dark day. But it is also a powerful one, because once you stop believing love is magic, you start building love like a man, with standards, with boundaries, with clarity, with self-respect, and from that day forward, you don't just love differently, you live differently. Chapter 3. Betrayal is trauma, not just heartbreak. People will try to minimize what you're going through. They'll say things like, just move on. It happens. Not all women are like that. At least you found out. Time heals. And yes, time helps. But time alone doesn't heal trauma. Time can also harden it. Because betrayal is not just heartbreak. It is trauma. It is an emotional injury that rewires how you trust, how you love, and how you see yourself. Why betrayal hits so hard. When someone cheats, it doesn't just violate love, it violates safety. In a healthy relationship, your partner is supposed to be your safe place, your teammate, the person you can relax with. So, when that person becomes the source of danger, your nervous system gets confused. The brain doesn't know where to place the threat, because the threat is sleeping next to you. That's why you can feel paranoid, hyper-alert, and anxious even when you're alone. Your body learned a lesson. Danger can look like love. The symptoms men don't talk about: men often experience betrayal trauma in ways they don't expect. You may lose sleep, lose appetite, become obsessed with details, feel rage that scares you, feel numb, feel like you're watching your life from outside your body, struggle to focus at work, start doubting your attractiveness, start doubting your masculinity. Some men even experience panic attacks. And because men aren't taught the language for emotional pain, they often translate it into anger, or silence, or self-destruction. Why you keep checking. A lot of men do something after betrayal that they feel ashamed of. They check, they stalk, they reread messages, they search for more proof, they ask questions they already know will hurt. Why? Because the mind is trying to regain control. The mind believes, if I know everything, I'll stop being blindsided. But the truth is, knowing everything doesn't bring peace. It brings more images, more pain, more obsession, and it delays healing. The identity collapse. One of the most painful parts of betrayal is the identity collapse. You thought you were the chosen man, the respected man, the man she wouldn't risk, the man she was proud to have, and now you don't know who you are. It's like someone ripped the label off your chest. And men need identity. Men need to feel respected. Men need to feel chosen. So betrayal doesn't just break your heart, it breaks your sense of self. The danger of becoming bitter. This is where many men get stuck. Not in sadness, in bitterness. Bitterness is seductive because it feels like armor. It tells you, never trust again. Women are all the same. Love is fake. Be cold. But bitterness doesn't protect you. It poisons you. It turns you into the kind of man who attracts the same pain again, just with different faces. The goal is not to become hard. The goal is to become wise. Healing is not forgetting. A lot of men think healing means forgetting. It doesn't. Healing means you can remember without bleeding. You can love without fear controlling you. You can trust without being naive. You can choose without desperation. Healing means the wound becomes a scar. And scars are not ugly. Scars are proof you survived. Chapter close. If betrayal has broken you, you are not weak. You are human. And if you can name what you're going through for what it is, trauma, then you can finally stop judging yourself for not getting over it fast. This wasn't just heartbreak. This was a psychological injury. And the man who heals from it doesn't return to who he was. He becomes something stronger. He becomes the kind of man who will never abandon himself again. Chapter 4. The questions that haunt a good man. Story. Marcus didn't cry when he found out. He didn't yell. He didn't break anything. He just sat in his car in the driveway for almost an hour, with the engine off, staring at nothing. When he finally went inside, he walked past the living room where they had laughed just the night before, past the kitchen where she used to make coffee in the mornings, past the hallway where their pictures were. He got into the shower and turned the water on hot, not because he needed to clean himself, but because he needed something loud enough to cover the silence. And in that shower, the same questions kept hitting him like punches. Why wasn't I enough? Why him? How long has this been happening? Was any of it real? That's the part most people don't understand about betrayal. It's not just the act, it's the questions that follow, the wrong questions. When a good man is cheated on, his mind usually goes straight to self-blame. He asks, what did I do wrong? What did I miss? Was I not attractive enough? Was I not exciting enough? Was I too nice? These questions feel logical, but they can trap you, because they assume the betrayal happened because you failed. And sometimes, yes, relationships can have problems. But cheating is not a communication style. Cheating is not a relationship strategy. Cheating is a character decision. The relationship might have been imperfect, but betrayal is still a choice. The most dangerous question a good man asks is, how do I make sure this never happens again? That sounds like a healthy question, but it often turns into control, and control is where men start losing themselves. They become suspicious, paranoid, possessive, obsessive, emotionally guarded, not because they're toxic, because they're injured. But here's the truth. You can't guarantee loyalty. You can only choose a loyal person and build a loyal relationship. A man who tries to guarantee loyalty ends up becoming a prison guard. And no man wants to live like that. The question that gives you power. There is a better question, a stronger question, a question that doesn't make you smaller. It is, what kind of woman would do this, and why did I choose her? That question doesn't excuse her behavior. It just brings you back to your own power. Because the real issue isn't only what she did. The real issue is the pattern that led you there. A good man often chooses women based on beauty, chemistry, potential, how much she needs him, how much she admires him at the beginning. But loyalty doesn't come from chemistry. Loyalty comes from values, integrity, discipline, and emotional maturity. Why? Why him? Hurts so much men. Don't just compare themselves emotionally. Men compare themselves hierarchically. When a man gets cheated on, he doesn't just feel heartbreak. He feels replaced. He feels like another man has stepped into his position. That's why him becomes such a violent question. Because your brain translates it as, what does he have that I don't? And that question can destroy your confidence if you let it. Because the truth is, sometimes he has nothing. Sometimes he's worse. Sometimes he's just available. Sometimes he's just new. Sometimes he's just the easiest source of attention. A good man thinks the other man must be better. But often the other man is simply less serious, less committed, and more reckless. And reckless can look exciting to a person who is emotionally immature. The question nobody wants to ask. There's one question most men avoid because it's painful. Was she ever truly loyal, or was she just loyal when it was convenient? That question is heavy, because it forces you to see her as she is not as you hoped she would become. And a good man doesn't like that. A good man wants to believe in people, but betrayal is often a revelation, not a surprise. It reveals what was already there: weak boundaries, attention, seeking dishonesty, unresolved trauma, selfishness, a need for validation. Chapter close. The questions will come. They'll come at night. They'll come when you're driving. They'll come when you hear her name. They'll come when you see a couple laughing. But you must learn the difference between questions that heal you and questions that torture you. Don't ask questions that shrink you. Ask questions that grow you. Because the man who asks the right questions becomes a man who gets the right answers. And the right answers lead to the right future. Chapter 5. The First Lie. It Came Out of Nowhere. Story. Derek said it the first time he told his friends. It came out of nowhere. He said it again when his brother asked him what happened. He said it again when he sat alone in his apartment, staring at the wall. It came out of nowhere. But later, after the shock faded, the truth began to rise. It didn't come out of nowhere. It came out of 100 small moments he ignored. The lie good men tell themselves. Good men tell themselves this lie because it protects their pride. If it came out of nowhere, then they couldn't have known. If they couldn't have known, then they weren't naive. If they weren't naive, then they don't have to face the fact that they ignored their instincts. But healing requires honesty. And the honest truth is, most betrayals leave footprints. Red flags good men dismiss. A good man is often slow to suspect the worst. He believes people are generally decent, Love means loyalty. Honesty is normal. Commitment is serious. So when warning signs appear, he doesn't call them what they are. He rationalizes them. Some of the most common red flags include 1. Sudden privacy. A phone that used to sit openly now stays face down. A password changes. A screen gets tilted away. 2. Emotional distance. She's physically there, but emotionally gone. Less affection, less warmth, less interest. 3. Irritation and disrespect. Small comments, eye rolls, attitude. The way she talks to you changes. 4. New friends you don't know. A coworker, an old friend, a just friend. And you can feel it, something is off. 5. Accusations toward you. This one is big. When someone is cheating, they often project. They accuse you of what they're doing. Suddenly, you're the suspicious one. Suddenly, you're the one acting different. Suddenly, you're the one who can't be trusted. Why, good men ignore the signs. Good men ignore signs for 3 main reasons. 1. They don't want to be controlling. They confuse boundaries with control. They think asking questions makes them insecure, so they stay silent. 2. They fear losing her. This is the real one. A good man who is emotionally attached will tolerate disrespect just to keep the relationship alive. 3. They believe in potential good men are builders. They see who she could be. They love her future self. But you cannot date someone's potential. You can only date their patterns. The slow betrayal. Most cheating doesn't begin with sex. It begins with emotional permission. It begins when a person decides, I deserve this. I need this. It's not that serious. He'll never know. I'm unhappy anyway. And then they take the first step, and the first step is almost always a conversation, a message, a secret laugh, an emotional connection, an intimacy that belongs to the relationship. Cheating is rarely a sudden fall. It's usually a gradual walk. The danger of denial. Denial is the enemy of a good man, because denial feels like loyalty. He thinks, if I trust her, I'm being a good man. But blind trust is not loyalty. Blind trust is self-neglect. Trust is supposed to be earned and protected. A good man can trust deeply while still staying aware. Chapter close. It didn't come out of nowhere. It came from small compromises, small lies, small disrespect, small secrets. The betrayal wasn't the first wrong step. It was the final one. And the moment you stop telling yourself it came out of nowhere, you stop being vulnerable to it happening again. Chapter 6. Why men don't talk about this. Story. Jason found out on a Tuesday. On Wednesday, he went to work like nothing happened. On Thursday, he went to the gym and hit a personal record. On Friday, his friend asked him, "You good?" Jason smiled and said, "Yeah, bro, I'm straight." Then he went home, sat on the edge of his bed, and stared at the floor for almost an hour. Not because he didn't have feelings, but because he didn't know where to put them. Men are not taught emotional language. Most men were raised with one emotional instruction: handle it. When men are hurt, they don't get comfort, they get expectations. So men learn early. Hide pain, don't look weak, don't complain, don't beg, don't cry. And when betrayal happens, it triggers something deeper than sadness. It triggers shame. The shame of being played. This is what makes cheating uniquely humiliating for men. A man doesn't just feel hurt. He feels like he failed a masculine test. He thinks, I should have known. I look stupid. People are going to laugh. I got played. I wasn't man enough, even if no one is laughing. Even if no one knows. The shame is internal, because men are raised to believe that being respected is survival. Why men stay silent? Men stay silent because they fear. 1. Being judged. People love a strong man until he shows pain. 2. losing their pride. Pride isn't always arrogance. Sometimes pride is the last thing holding you together. 3. Being seen as weak. Men confuse vulnerability with weakness, but vulnerability is actually courage. 4. Being told to get over it. A lot of men open up once and get shut down, so they never do it again. The problem with silence. Silence is dangerous because unspoken pain doesn't disappear. It transforms. It becomes anger, addiction, bitterness, emotional coldness, distrust, reckless behavior, revenge, cheating, depression. Many men don't heal. They harden, and hardened men often become the kind of men they once hated. The lie of, "I'm fine." A good man will say, "I'm fine," while his nervous system is collapsing. He will keep providing, keep working, keep showing up, while inside he's fighting thoughts that scare him. He'll replay conversations. He'll imagine her with the other man. He'll wonder if he should take her back. He'll wonder if he'll ever love again. But he won't say it, because he thinks men are supposed to carry pain alone. The strongest men talk. Here is the truth. Nobody teaches boys. The strongest men talk. Not to everyone, not for attention, but to the right people. Because healing requires expression. Pain that stays trapped becomes poison. And a man who never processes betrayal becomes a man who repeats it either by choosing the same kind of woman again or by becoming the same kind of person. Chapter close. You don't have to broadcast your pain, but you do have to face it, because silence is not strength. Silence is avoidance, and avoidance always collects interest. If you want to remain a good man after betrayal, you must give yourself permission to be human. And then you must rebuild, not as a bitter man, but as a wiser one. Chapter 7. The Loneliness After the Truth. Story. Andre didn't miss her at first. He missed the routine. He missed the good morning texts. He missed having someone to send memes to. He missed cooking dinner for two. He missed the feeling of being chosen. Then one night, after the anger faded, he sat in his living room with the TV on and realized he wasn't even watching. He was just trying to fill the silence. Because loneliness after betrayal isn't just loneliness. It's loneliness with humiliation. Why betrayal creates isolation. When a relationship ends normally, you grieve love. When a relationship ends through betrayal, you grieve love, trust, identity, safety, the future you pictured. And that kind of grief feels too heavy to explain. So men isolate, not because they don't want help, but because they don't want pity. A good man would rather suffer quietly than be seen as weak. The social pain nobody talks about betrayal also creates social pain, because you start thinking, what do people know? What did she tell them? Do they think I deserved it? Do they think I'm stupid? Even if nobody is talking about you, your mind assumes they are. That's how shame works. Shame convinces you that you are being watched and judged. Friends who don't get it. A lot of men try to talk to friends and get hit with, "Bro, forget her. You should have seen it coming. Just go get another one." That advice is usually not cruel. It's just emotionally illiterate. Because many men don't know how to sit with pain. They only know how to escape it. The dangerous places loneliness takes men. Loneliness after betrayal can push men into rebound relationships, meaningless, sex, alcohol, drugs, gambling, porn, addiction, reckless decisions, revenge. Not because men are weak, because men are trying to numb. And numbness feels like relief until it becomes a cage. The real work. Rebuilding your inner circle. A man cannot heal betrayal alone. He can survive it alone, but he can't heal it alone. Healing requires honest conversation, accountability, perspective, support. This doesn't mean you need to tell everyone your business, but you do need one trusted friend, a mentor, a therapist, a men's group, a brother or father figure, someone safe, someone who won't mock you, someone who will remind you who you are when your confidence collapses. Loneliness is not proof you need her. This is a big one. Many good men confuse loneliness with love. They think, I miss her, so she must be my person. No. Sometimes you miss her because your brain is addicted to the bond. Sometimes you miss her because you're afraid of starting over. Sometimes you miss her because you hate the emptiness. Loneliness is not proof she was right for you. Loneliness is proof you're human. Chapter close. The loneliness after betrayal is real, but don't let it trick you into returning to what broke you. A good man doesn't go back because he's lonely. A good man builds a life so full of purpose that loneliness becomes a season, not a sentence. Fact box. Social rejection and betrayal activate the brain's pain systems similarly to physical pain. That's one reason betrayal can feel physically sickening. Isolation increases rumination, which increases emotional suffering. Support speeds healing. Chapter 8. Nice versus good, the critical difference. Story. Kyle was the guy everyone called a great boyfriend. He never yelled, he always paid, he always apologized. He always made time. He always forgave. And when she cheated, his first response wasn't anger. It was, what can I do to fix this? That's when Kyle learned something most men learn too late. Being nice is not the same as being good. Nice is approval seeking. A nice man is often a man who fears losing love. So he performs. He tries to earn. He tries to be perfect. He thinks, if I'm always good to her, she'll never hurt me. But that isn't love. That's insurance. And relationships don't work like that. Good is principle. A good man is not perfect, but he is solid. He has values. He has standards. He is kind, but not weak. He is patient, but not passive. He is loving, but not desperate. A good man doesn't try to buy loyalty with effort. He requires loyalty because it's the minimum. Why nice men get disrespected. This is where many men get uncomfortable. But it needs to be said, some women do not respect men who never stand up for themselves. Because deep down, they don't feel safe with a man who can't lead his own life. A man who can't say no becomes easy to control. And what is easy to control becomes easy to disrespect. The hidden deal nice men make. Nice men often make a silent deal. They don't say it out loud, but their behavior says, I'll give you everything as long as you don't leave me. That's not love, that's fear. And fear is not attractive long term. The good man's edge. A good man is different. He doesn't threaten. He doesn't control. He doesn't manipulate. He simply has standards. He has a backbone. He knows what he will and won't accept. He understands something crucial. A relationship without consequences is just a suggestion. Becoming good without becoming cold. A lot of men read this and swing to the other extreme. They think, so I should be toxic? I should stop caring? I should treat women badly? No, that's not strength. That's insecurity wearing a mask. A healed man does not become cruel. He becomes clear. Chapter close. Nice men try to be loved. Good men choose love wisely. Nice men tolerate disrespect to avoid conflict. Good men face conflict to protect respect. And in the end, respect is what protects loyalty. Fact box. People-pleasing is strongly linked to fear of rejection and often comes from early life conditioning. Healthy relationships require boundaries, and boundaries require the ability to tolerate discomfort. Chapter 9. The Overgiver Personality. Story. Chris didn't just love her. He invested in her. He helped her get through school. He paid bills when she was short. He supported her dreams. He showed up when she cried. He made her feel safe. He gave and gave and gave. And one day, he looked up and realized she was no longer grateful. She was entitled. That's what overgiving can create. Why good men overgive. Overgiving isn't always generosity. Sometimes it's a strategy to avoid abandonment. Many men overgive because deep down they believe, if I provide enough, I will be irreplaceable. But nobody becomes loyal because you made yourself useful. They become loyal because they have character. Overgiving creates imbalance. In relationships, balance matters. Not because love is a business transaction, but because human psychology responds to reciprocity. When one person gives too much, the other person gives less respect, decreases, appreciation fades, entitlement grows, and the giver becomes exhausted. The trap: giving instead of speaking over. Givers often do something dangerous. Instead of communicating needs, they give more. Instead of confronting disrespect, they give more. Instead of setting standards, they give more. They believe love is proven by sacrifice. But sacrifice without mutual care becomes self-destruction. When your value becomes your utility, this is where many good men get hurt. They become the safe option, the provider, the reliable one, the one who will always be there. And when a man becomes a utility instead of a partner, he becomes replaceable emotionally. Not because he isn't valuable, but because his value has been reduced to what he does. How to stop overgiving. Stopping overgiving doesn't mean giving less love. It means giving with discernment. It means asking, does she appreciate me? Does she reciprocate? Does she respect me? Does she protect the relationship? Does she add peace or take it? A good man gives deeply, but he gives to the right woman. Chapter close overgiving is not love. It is love mixed with fear, and fear makes a man give too much to people who would never do the same for him. Your love is powerful, but it must be protected by standards. Fact box. Reciprocity is a major predictor of relationship satisfaction. When one partner consistently gives more, resentment and disconnection grow. Overgiving is often linked to anxious attachment and fear of abandonment. Chapter 10. Why Good Men Ignore Red Flags. Story. Nathan saw the signs early. The new guy at her job. The way she laughed at her phone. The way she got defensive when he asked questions. The way she suddenly needed space. But Nathan told himself, you're overthinking. Don't be insecure. Don't ruin a good thing. And later, when he found out the truth, the betrayal hurt. But the regret hurt worse. Good men are optimists. Good men often have a belief system that sounds noble. I don't want to assume the worst. And yes, that's a good trait. But optimism becomes a weakness when it turns into denial. The fear of being the bad guy. Many men ignore red flags because they fear being labeled controlling, insecure, jealous, toxic. So instead of asking the hard questions, they stay quiet. They wait, they hope, but waiting does not fix a problem. Waiting only gives it time to grow. Chemistry can blind you. Another reason good men ignore red flags is chemistry. Chemistry is powerful. Chemistry makes you forgive things you would never accept logically. Chemistry makes you explain away disrespect. Chemistry makes you think she's just emotional. She didn't mean it. She's been through a lot. She's changing. But chemistry without character is chaos. The fixer mindset good men often think, if I love her correctly, she'll heal. That mindset can destroy you because you cannot love someone into integrity. You cannot love someone into maturity. You cannot love someone into loyalty. They have to want it. Red flags are data. A red flag isn't a death sentence. It's data. It's information. It's a warning. And a man who ignores data is not loyal. He is reckless with his own life. The difference between trust and blindness trust is healthy when it's built on consistent behavior. Blindness is when you trust someone despite consistent warning signs. A good man must learn to trust patterns, not promises. Chapter close. Good men ignore red flags because they want love to be simple. They want love to be pure. They want love to be safe. But love isn't safe because you want it to be. Love is safe when two people have integrity, boundaries, accountability, respect. And if those things are missing, your optimism becomes your downfall. Fact box. Many people experience optimism bias, the belief that bad outcomes are less likely to happen to them. Early relationship red flags often repeat later because personality patterns tend to stay consistent without real effort and accountability. Chapter 11. The Fixer Instinct. Story. Eli met her when she was going through a lot. She had a painful past, a rough childhood, an ex who ruined her, trust issues, anxiety. And Eli did what good men do. He stepped in. He listened. He protected. He reassured. He paid attention. He stayed consistent. He became her peace. And for a while, she loved him for it. But later, she cheated on him with a man who offered almost nothing. And Eli couldn't understand it. He thought being the one who saved her meant he would be the one she stayed loyal to. Why men become fixers? Many men are wired to solve problems. It's not toxic. It's masculine. Men often feel valuable when they can provide, protect, and repair. So when a man meets a woman with emotional pain, something inside him activates. I can be the one who helps her. And at first it feels like love, because she cries in your arms. She tells you you're different. She says you make her feel safe. But safety is not the same as loyalty. The fixer's blind spot. The fixer instinct has a blind spot. It assumes love can heal character, but love cannot heal selfishness. Love cannot heal dishonesty. Love cannot heal immaturity. Love cannot heal addiction to attention. Those things require accountability. And accountability is something only the person can choose. When fixing becomes enabling. A fixer man often forgives too quickly, accepts excuses, tolerates disrespect, tries harder when she tries less, keeps giving chances. And each time he does that, he sends a message. Your behavior has no consequences. Not because he means to, but because he's trying to be understanding. The truth fixers don't want to hear. Some women don't want to be healed. They want to be comforted while they keep their habits. They want a safe man and a thrilling man. They want stability and chaos. They want the benefits of a relationship without the discipline of one. And a fixer man becomes the perfect partner for that kind of woman because he keeps trying. How to break the fixer pattern. A good man can be supportive without becoming responsible for someone else's healing. The key is this. You can love someone and still require growth. You can empathize and still set standards. You can care and still walk away. Chapter close. The fixer instinct makes men powerful. But if you use it on the wrong woman, it becomes self-destruction. You are not a rehabilitation center. You are not a therapist. You are not a rescue mission. You are a man. And you deserve a woman who comes with the ability to love you back, not just the ability to be saved. Fact box. People often confuse caretaking with love, but caretaking can become a form of control or self-worth seeking. Many relationship problems repeat when one partner becomes the parent and the other becomes the child. Chapter 12. When kindness becomes predictable. Story. Sam was consistent. He didn't play games. He didn't disappear. He didn't flirt with other women. He didn't threaten. He didn't manipulate. He showed up. And slowly, over time, she stopped looking at him the same. Not because he did something wrong, but because she started treating his love like it was guaranteed. The tragedy of reliability. Reliability is one of the most attractive traits a man can have, but it comes with a risk. When your presence becomes guaranteed, some people stop valuing it. Not all people. Not mature people, but immature people. People who grew up around chaos often confuse chaos with love. Peace can feel boring to the unhealed. This is one of the hardest truths for good men to accept. A woman who is addicted to emotional intensity may interpret stability as boredom. She may say, "I don't feel the spark anymore. You don't excite me. It feels routine." What she really means is, my nervous system is used to chaos, and peace feels unfamiliar. Predictability isn't the problem. Let's be clear. Predictability isn't the problem. Predictability is what builds families. Predictability is what builds trust. Predictability is what builds safety. The problem is when predictability becomes entitlement, when she stops appreciating, when she stops reciprocating, when she stops respecting. Why some women chase the wrong men. Many good men watch women choose reckless men and think, so women like bad men. That's not the full truth. Some women are drawn to uncertainty, emotional highs and lows, the chase, validation, intensity. Because intensity feels like passion. But intensity without stability is not love. It's nervous system addiction. How a good man stays magnetic. A good man doesn't need to become toxic. He doesn't need to play games. But he does need purpose outside the relationship. Self-respect, leadership, boundaries, the ability to say no. Because when your life is full, your love feels like a gift, not a dependency. Chapter: Close kindness should never make you invisible. If your loyalty becomes something she expects instead of appreciates, the issue isn't your kindness, it's her maturity. A good woman doesn't get bored of peace. She builds inside it. FACD box. People who grew up around instability may develop attraction patterns tied to uncertainty and emotional intensity. Healthy long-term love tends to shift from spark to security, trust, and friendship, and mature partners value that. Chapter 13. The Respect Problem. Story. Tony loved her, but the way she spoke to him changed. It started small. Little jokes, little sarcasm, little eye rolls. Then it grew. She would interrupt him, dismiss him, talk to him like he was annoying. Tony didn't want to fight, so he stayed calm. He stayed kind. He stayed patient. And eventually, she cheated. When Tony asked why, she said something that still haunts him. "I don't know. It just happened." But it didn't just happen. It happened after respect died. Love without respect is dangerous. Many men believe love is the foundation of loyalty. But in real relationships, loyalty is protected by respect. Because respect is what makes a person value what they have. Respect is what makes a person think, "I would never risk him." Love can exist without respect. But love without respect becomes unstable. It becomes selfish. It becomes entitled. It becomes careless. How respect usually dies in small moments. It dies when you tolerate disrespect without addressing it. You keep forgiving without change. You allow boundary violations. You accept blame for things you didn't do. You beg you over. Explain. You stay when you should leave. And it also dies when you lose your purpose. You stop taking care of yourself. You become emotionally dependent. You stop leading your own life. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being solid. The difference between love and admiration. Many women don't just need love. They need admiration. They need to feel proud of their man. Not because women are shallow, because admiration creates attraction, and attraction is protected by respect. A woman can love a man she doesn't admire, but she will rarely stay loyal long-term without admiration. Why disrespect predicts cheating disrespect is the doorway. Once disrespect becomes normal, cheating becomes possible, because cheating requires a person to justify betrayal. And disrespect makes justification easier. When respect is gone, the cheater can tell themselves, "He's not that great anyway. He doesn't understand me. He's boring. He doesn't deserve me. I'm unhappy. And those thoughts become permission. How a good man restores respect. Respect isn't restored by begging. It's restored by standards. A man restores respect when he speaks up early, addresses disrespect immediately, sets consequences, walks away when necessary, maintains self-respect even while in love. Chapter close. A good man must understand. Love is not enough. Respect is what keeps love protected. And the moment a woman stops respecting you, your loyalty becomes something she thinks she can replace. Fact box. Relationship research consistently shows that contempt and disrespect are strong predictors of relationship breakdown. Cheating often follows a period of emotional disconnection and lowered respect, not always a sudden impulse. Chapter 14. Good Men and the Fear of Loss. Story. Dylan knew she was crossing lines. He felt it. But every time he thought about confronting her, he pictured the worst outcome. She leaves. She calls him insecure. She tells everyone he was controlling. He ends up alone. So he stayed quiet. And by staying quiet, he didn't prevent loss. He just delayed it. The fear that controls good men. A lot of good men are controlled by one fear. The fear of losing her. Not because she's perfect, but because he's emotionally attached. Because he invested. Because he imagined a future. Because he doesn't want to start over. Because he hates the idea of loneliness. So he tolerates things he shouldn't. He accepts disrespect. He avoids conflict. He gives more. He tries harder. And the relationship becomes a one-man effort. The paradox of fear here is the cruel paradox. The more you fear losing her, the more likely you are to lose her. Because fear makes men needy, passive, overly forgiving, emotionally dependent, easy to manipulate, and none of those things build respect. The fear of being alone. Many men don't realize they fear loneliness more than betrayal. They'd rather stay with someone who disrespects them than face the emptiness of starting over. But that's not love. That's survival. And survival-based love always creates suffering. The power of detachment. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. Detachment means you can love without losing yourself. It means you can set boundaries without panic. You can speak truth without fear. You can walk away if needed. You can survive without her. Detachment is what gives a man power in love. How to become okay with loss. A man becomes okay with loss by building a life outside the relationship. Friendships, purpose, goals, discipline, faith, if he's spiritual, self-respect. Because a man with a full life does not cling. He chooses. Chapter close. A good man must stop treating love like something he might not find again. Love is not rare. Loyalty is rare. Integrity is rare. Character is rare. And once you stop fearing loss, you stop being easy to disrespect. Fact box. Fear of abandonment is a core feature of anxious attachment, which can lead to overgiving and tolerating mistreatment. People are generally more attracted to partners who demonstrate self-respect and independence. Chapter 15. Cheating isn't always about sex. Story. When Malik found out, the first thing he asked was, "Did you sleep with him?" She hesitated, and in that hesitation, Malik's stomach dropped. But later, when he learned the full story, he realized something worse. The cheating didn't begin in a bedroom. It began in conversations. It began in the way she started sharing her emotions with another man. It began when she stopped bringing her heart to Malik. The biggest misunderstanding men. Have most men think cheating is mainly sexual, but many affairs begin emotionally. A woman may cheat because she feels unseen, she feels unappreciated, she feels emotionally disconnected, she wants validation, she wants excitement, she wants revenge, she wants an exit. Sex is often the final stage, not the first. Emotional cheating, the quiet betrayal. Emotional cheating is when she gives someone else her attention, her intimacy, her vulnerability, her emotional world, while still receiving commitment from you. It's when another man becomes her secret safe space. It's when she starts comparing. It's when she starts hiding. And most importantly, it's when she starts protecting him from you. Why emotional cheating is so dangerous? Because once emotional Chapter 16, Validation Addiction, Story. Brandon thought he was imagining it at first. Every time his girlfriend posted a picture, Chapter 18. The Dopamine Effect. Why New Feels Better. Story. Caleb's girlfriend told him something that sounded honest. I don't know what's wrong. I just don't feel the same. Caleb was confused. Chapter 20.